because there are worlds where fear does not exist. This is so true, Alan. Now,
can we just talk about fear for a moment? What does fear do to us? You've already said, that there is so much fear in this world. What does fear do to us that is inimical to our spiritual development?
It cripples us. It makes us less than what we could be without it. Fear comes really in the very, very beginning. I mean, you look at a brand new baby and you think, isn't it wonderful that child does not have fear at this particular moment? But it doesn't take long. Living on earth with a particular set of parents and circumstances, environmental, whatever, the kind of socialization that goes on in every culture, where children can become afraid for various reasons. They might be afraid of the dark, but quite often they're afraid of another child who's perhaps bullying them or whatever. Or the things that they don't understand just about nature unless they have very kind, loving parents who lead them through this. But as time goes on, there are people who are more prone to be fearful than others for a variety of reasons. Maybe they have abnormal brain chemistry, whatever, but they become obsessive about their fears over certain things. Now, what I object to is when a belief system or dogma engenders fear if you don't follow a particular teaching, sacred book, you name it. To me, that puts fear on a massive scale. When you're dealing with an entire culture who is fearful because, for example, a very strict religious belief system, they can't do anything else. But you have fear in other areas where religion is not involved. You have tyrannical leaders in countries who are, they're dictators, they're tyrants, and they rule by fear. Saddam Hussein would be a good example, with mass killings and repression and so forth, and we've seen this all over the world. You have your Hitlers and your Stalins and your Mao Zedongs, who are people who ruled through fear. And, Hitler and Stalin and Mao were not particularly religious people, but they were political autocrats, and they ruled through fear. So fear comes from a lot of different areas in a person's life, depending on who they are, how they were raised, what country they live in, and so forth. But it is one of the most crippling aspects of human life.
But presumably this is one of the reasons for coming to planet Earth, is that this is one of the big tests. Absolutely. Can you still hear your soul through all that fear that's crippling?
Absolutely, because there are worlds where fear does not exist. This is so true, Alan. Now, people will say, for instance, I remember this scene so vividly, when they were showing the damage of 9/11, those planes crashing, into the Trade Center, and the buildings were falling, and there was fire and dust and coming up. And I remember this one film crew that got into this section in New York City where one of the buildings were, and this woman turned to the camera. She was all covered in soot, crying. She said, "Now I know that there is no God." And the person who was filming her said, because of it, absolutely no loving God could permit this. Either there's no God or he is a very malevolent being. Now you see, this woman has allowed fear to totally, of what was going on around her, to totally cloud her thinking about the larger picture. The larger picture being, if you elect to come to Earth as an Earth school to work and train here to learn in a physical body, you have to accept certain things. You have to accept the autocrats. You have to accept the Hitlers of this world, the Saddam Husseins. You have to accept repression in other areas, such as some of the more fundamentalist religions that we've talked about. But also you have to accept earthquakes, tidal waves. You have to accept the geology of Earth that can bring natural disasters along with man-made disasters, which include fear. So you have to accept the whole enchilada when you come to Earth. And some people find that awfully hard because they have no belief system. They are just, quote, thrown here by the caprice of something or someone or nothing. They were just here by accident. And somehow they've got to endure all this with no purpose, really nothing more than the simple understanding for them that they have to survive to the time of their death. And they don't know why, but survival is all what it's all about. So that's Earth, Alan. That's the Earth School.